to all of our residents who are here from Thornhill, and for those of you that are neighbors of ours, we wanted to welcome you to our clubhouse that we thoroughly enjoy here in Thornhill. I'm Irene Sanders. I serve on the Thornhill HOA board. I also have the privilege of being the co-chair of the Johns Creek Planning Commission for 8 years. I'm not on there anymore, but I was. And then I currently serve as the executive director of Student Leadership North, formerly known as Student Leadership Johns Creek. And so I get to deal with these amazing kids and about 200 more. And so, but these are my ambassadors. So we're delighted to present this forum for our residents to get to know more about the two candidates vying for mayor in November election. Tonight's event is part of our ongoing commitment to civic engagement and informed participation in our local democracy. I want to extend a special thanks to our remarkable students here tonight who have worked tirelessly on developing questions and facilitating our upcoming October 2nd candidate debate at Chattahoochee High School. What makes this their contribution particularly impressive is that these students represent different high schools throughout our community, yet they have worked collectively with remarkable dedication. Since mid-July, they've been attending city council meetings and work sessions either in person or on virtually. And then I get texts from them about, Ms. Sanders, you need to watch this meeting. So they've been doing that since July. And they've been learning a lot about how our city government operates, educating themselves on the key issues facing Johns Creek, and their thoughtful preparation and commitment to understanding these complex topics will ensure that our October debate is both robust and highly informative. Before we begin, I'd like to ask that you please silence your phone and show respect for both candidates this evening and our outstanding students who have made tonight possible. With that, I'd like to introduce Vishal Varma, one of our students from Northview High School, and he's gonna kind of be our MC tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. My name is Vishal Varma, and I'm a member of the Student Leadership North, formerly Student Leadership Johns Creek, class of 2026, and Northview High School. Tonight, my fellow ambassadors and I are excited to introduce our two candidates for Johns Creek Mayor. I'd like to take a moment to first introduce our team for today. Ane Bakandi from Innovation Academy and Lucy Liu from Johns Creek High School will be our moderators, and will ask a slate of 6 questions our team selected for this meet and greet. Prinsha Chanda from Chattahoochee High School and Aditi Kotari from Johns Creek High School will be managing audience submissions, as well as our other team of ambassadors here. Before we begin though, we would like to address one of the biggest issues of this election, the proposed Performing Arts Center, or PAC. Although we understand that this is a hot button issue that many voters feel is key to this election, due to regulations surrounding the proposed PAC, incumbents will only be able to answer questions regarding the PAC with facts, not their own opinion. In the interest of fairness, questions related to the PAC are limited and will only be used to gauge the stance of the aspirant candidates. After our initial questions are answered, we will open the floor to any audience questions. To submit an audience question, please pick up a slip from the front or from one of our ambassadors and hand it back with a specific question that you would like addressed. Note that questions must be answerable by both parties and cannot be biased in any way. Additionally, we will not accept any questions that provoke responses that deal with opinions regarding the PAC, as our incumbent mayor will be unable to answer these. We're also glad to announce that a few of our city council candidates are also here tonight. If you're a candidate for city council, please stand up now. Here also we have our representative Scott Hilton at the Georgia State Assembly. Now, without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce our two candidates for Johns Creek Mayor, candidate John Bradberry and candidate Kelly Stewart. I'll now hand over to our moderator team to begin with our opening statements, starting with candidate Stewart. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our first mayoral meeting.
I would like to begin by thanking the Thornhill HOA for hosting tonight's event, and for Student Leadership North for moderating this. Thank you so much. My name is Kelly Stewart. I am a Georgia native. My husband and I, Tom, have lived in Johns Creek since 2003. I have an associate's degree in psychology, a bachelor's degree in public administration, and a master's degree from Georgia Tech in city planning. I have worked in the local, state, and federal levels of government. Professionally, I'm a human resources executive. I have also served on the Johns Creek City Council in the city's formative years from 2010 to 2014, and during part of that time served as Mayor Pro Tem. Governor Deal appointed me to the statewide board for the Department of Juvenile Justice, and in that capacity, I also served as a school board member. I'm a recorded pianist, singer, and songwriter. When I made the decision to run for mayor, it was not a decision that I made lightly. There were people who began reaching out to me in the early part of the year asking me to consider this, and I just said no for the longest. Then people asked to meet with me and share their concerns about the city. And so when I sat down to understand everything, I began concern too. And from that, I made a decision to run for mayor. You know, our city has enjoyed many wonderful accolades over these almost 20 years, like best city. But this race is not about Johns Creek being a best city. It's about being the best mayor. And I'm running for mayor for two reasons. First, to restore leadership, ethics, integrity, and transparency to the mayor's office. And then to prioritize critical services first, essential services second, and non-essential services third. I am committed to protecting our quality of life and protecting our tax dollars from wasteful spending. Thank you.
No, you have to introduce. Is that what you're doing?
Thank you for your introduction, candidate Stewart. Candidate Bradberry, could you please introduce yourself and
Sure.
explain why you were running for mayor?
Sure. So it is great to be with all of you. Thank you to the Thornhill HOA. Thank you to Student Leadership North. Thank you for facilitating this conversation. And let me just say that, yes, it is true. I think that hopefully you have heard that we have been named the #1 best community in the United States. But let me be the first to say that is because of the folks in this room and the folks in this community who work hard, who are well educated, who are successful, hardworking, who are raising their families here and are pushing their kids to do well in school. Thank you to all of you. You should give yourselves a round of applause. So. Now, from a policy side, there have been things that we've tried to do over the last 4 years. 4 years ago, I said that I was going to make public safety my top priority. Today, we are literally the safest city in the United States. On taxes, I have been committed to trying to run this government with the lowest taxes possible. Today, we have the lowest millage rate of any city in Fulton County, and we have the lowest millage rate of our history as a city. 4 years ago, the town center. That was just an idea. It was a hope, a concept. People didn't really know if we would ever really have one. Today, that's coming out of the ground. Nedley's being built. The boardwalk is being built. Boston Scientific is here. Our business community is thriving in the town center area. And that's a big deal. In parks and recreation, we've made great progress. We have doubled the amount of parkland in our parks. We are continuing to make improvements across our entire park system, across the city. And of course, in transportation, we have done more road improvements, intersection improvements, sidewalk and trail additions in this 4-year period than at any 4-year period in the history of our city. Now, those are great accomplishments, but there is still much to do. I would like to see in 4 years us be able to look at the city of Johns Creek, the local government, and it be known or have the reputation for being the best run local government in the country. And to me, that means the most efficient, the most effective, most accountable, and the most transparent. And I know that the city of Johns Creek is not perfect, but I do think it's good, maybe very good. But I want to continue to make it better. I want to continue to find ways to add value, to improve quality of life. I know that with your help, with your support, I know that we will be able to do that. We're going to be very successful. I didn't prepare a biography quite like my opponent did, but I'll just say go Dogs, and I'm a native of Georgia too, so thank you.
All right, now before we move on to our next question, I just had to clarify the timing. In the interest of fairness, we're going to be limiting our candidates' responses to 2 to 3 minutes, just to make sure that we can get through enough questions and that both candidates have equal time. Now we'll move on.
Regarding the first question, to candidate Bradberry, stormwater issues seem to be cropping up all over the city. If elected as mayor, how will you address the current failures of stormwater management, specifically concerning older detention and retention ponds in neighborhoods that are neglecting maintenance and upkeep of these important structures?
Okay. So, I don't know about you, but when I'm at home, if I have a problem with the computer or the car, I call that not fun money to spend. Stormwater is the city equivalent. It's not fun money that we have to spend as a community, but it is important. The stormwater situation, I mean, we are named Johns Creek for a reason. We have a lot of springs and creeks and water basins here. And for some homeowners, it is devastating. For some neighborhoods, it's devastating. And it is something that we obviously stood up the stormwater utility fee back several years ago. I am committed that I will be looking at a potential grant program for how we can address the dredging and the oversiltation that's coming into these detention ponds. We've already stood up a grant program. It's a pilot program that's for the conveyances. Most people, I think you think about a ditch, but for some people in Johns Creek, it's a cavern that maybe exists in their backyard. And these are things that I don't think that individual homeowners can tackle well by themselves. I think it really requires a corridor solution. And so what we have done regarding that grant program that I mentioned, we have certain restrictions from a legal standpoint of what we can and cannot do. And obviously this is venturing into private property versus public property, but it's public money. Let me just say that the grant program is innovative in that I don't think any other city in the state is doing anything like this or even talking about doing anything like this, because they're very interested in what we're trying to do. But the stormwater problem is a big one. It's an expensive problem, and it's something that we're just going to have to continue to work on over many, many years to try and make it better. But I am committed to that process.
Thank you. Candidate Stewart, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I've got it, thank you. So let's talk about what a stormwater fee is. Anytime the government imposes a fee on you, that is a tax. Pure and simple. Mr. Bradberry, when he was on the council, voted for the largest tax increase on Johns Creek citizens by imposing this stormwater utility fee on all of us. It pales in comparison to the fraction of the percentage point he says he's going to save when rolling back the millage rate to save our taxes. So let's talk about this stormwater fee. You and I are collectively paying $3.15 million in revenue for stormwater for 2026. That is a staggering amount of money. The city in 2025 collected $44,000 from us in penalties if we were a day late. So let's look at how money is going to be spent. That $3.15 million that you and I are paying, that is to pay for maintenance and repairs. We're keeping it in the road. To advance stormwater and to make actual improvements, the city has come up with a 5-year stormwater plan in the in the capital improvement plan. That's $18 million. So it starts this year in 2026, so let's see how we're doing. There are 40 projects in the capital for this year. There's only funding for the first 8, meaning the last 32, there's no funding. Let's see how important stormwater is now that a performing arts center is now on the horizon. The stormwater grant program is number 25 out of 40. $250,000, 0 funding. The stormwater improvement is number 34 out of 40, $500,000,
Candidate
no
Stewart,
funding.
would you make your final remarks?
Yes. So with this, what we have to do for stormwater, I want to roll stormwater from a utility fee back into the property, under the property tax, because when you calculate your income tax, you can't write off a stormwater utility fee. You can write off your property tax. We are paying $60,000 to mail and print postage stamps to send us our bills. That needs to be done
Candidate
with.
Stewart.
Thank you.
Quick reminder, candidates, please keep your responses to 2 minutes in the spirit of fairness.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
As for our next question, Candidate Stewart, over the past 3 years, there's been a high employee turnover and concerns about a lack of financial transparency in the city. Do you believe this is a problem? If so, how do you plan on addressing this to ensure a more efficient and trustworthy government in our city?
As a human resources executive, it is important that you have transparency in your government or in any organization. And turnover is indicative of a problem. In the finance department, I am really concerned that this is our largest budget, $88 million, that has just been passed, and it was made without a finance director. We need leadership that can create a positive culture, that can stop the turnover and can address the problems. When you have a leader that comes in and is focused on uniting a city council, stopping turnover, we are in the people business. We have to be diligent with our leadership to continually work through conflicts and problems. That is what I am committed to doing as mayor of Johns Creek.
Candidate Bradberry, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, but that was a lot. So first off, I would say that the preposition of the question is incorrect. It said that there is high turnover in the city of Johns Creek. I agree that there is turnover in the city of Johns Creek, just like there is turnover in any large organization. It is not fair to say that we did not have a finance director. We have never gone without a finance director. We had someone that was in the finance director position, they left. We had the assistant city manager become the interim finance director. I think by all accounts, that is a very, very, very impressive person and was very competently able to handle all of the budget issues. It is something that I think you have to consider. Is the organization intended to be a high-performing organization? I can tell you, like I mentioned in the very beginning, that I expect great things from our city government. I have gone to the city manager, and before I came out and said publicly that I want to have the best run city government in the country, I went to the city manager and I said, are you ready for me to say this? Are you ready for this charge? Are you ready for that challenge? Because this is what I intend to do if I'm elected to a second term. And you know from when I ran 4 years ago that I did exactly everything that I told you I was going to do 4 years ago. So don't mistake sometimes turnover being because someone maybe isn't happy. Maybe they're not happy because they're being held accountable to a higher standard. That is what I expect. That's what I expect the city manager to expect. And if someone can't perform at a high level, maybe the city of Johns Creek is not the place for them. But I just would appreciate if we could try to deal with facts and not accusations or things that are maybe not accurate. Thank you.
Candidate Bradberry, your next question. Many of the parks and other construction projects in the city have been under construction for years and remain unfinished, while others have gone over budget. The city is now proposing another project, the Performing Arts Center. How do you plan on ensuring that any project, if approved, remains at or below budget? What will you do to make sure that the PATH project, if approved, is financially feasible?
Okay, so again, I'm a little confused by the ground rules, but I'm happy to take the question regardless. A couple of things. Again, I'm going to take issue with the initial statement. I am not sure that I agree with this idea that we have projects that are running over budget. I know that my opponent has gone out and made a video about how the boardwalk is over budget. I thought that that was very misleading. The project was scoped to be approximately $35 million. It is running on time and it's going to cost approximately $35 million. I'm not saying that's not a lot of money, but it's not running over budget, okay? Now, regarding the PAC, all I'm gonna say, it is something obvious that the city of Johns Creek is doing very, very well. It's very clear that if you're running against an incumbent of a city that's the best community in the country, you've got to get really creative with what you're going to run on. And so this PAC thing has become the most lied about thing in our city. And I'm not here to advocate one way or the other for the PAC. If the referendum, if it gets approved, that's great. If it doesn't get approved, that's also fine. I am not here to push through the PAC. You know what I am here for? I am here to provide the leadership so that we adjudicate issues and solve problems. The PAC is something that has been coming up through the grassroots for over 10 years. And after you do a study, or there's a task force, or then I had a mayoral working group to look at scope, scale, and size. At some point, you've got to fish or cut bait. And the only fair and transparent thing for me, in a majority of council, was that we would put that in your hands, in you, the people's hands. So if you don't like it, vote against it. If you're for it, vote for it. I'm not gonna say I don't care, but I kind of don't care one way or the other. I just want it to be something that you're able to make that value judgment, because there are benefits, but there are also costs, okay? And so this idea of making up that I'm going to stand up a public facilities authority is total bull. I don't support the public facilities authority. I didn't even know that we had a public facilities authority in our charter. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Candidate Stewart, would you like me to repeat the question?
So I've got it with parks impact. So you're entitled to your own opinion, but we're gonna tell the truth here. And the numbers in your budget tell a very different story. So with the parks, remember this, in 2016, we passed a $40 million parks bond. That included 13 projects. The money has gone, the projects are not finished. There's 18 million left to finish those projects. The one park, a linear park, it was supposed to be $6.25 million. That is the park that now has ballooned into over $40 million. Not 35, it's 40. I have the data and the sheets to show it. So we are spending more on this boardwalk park than we spent on the parks bond. So if you think about it, a $40 million bond, $18 million of work not completed, and we're over $40 million on this. So our parks are not completed on time or on budget. They're not well planned, and they're not being maintained. So let's talk about Collie Creek, not enough parking. Let's talk about the boardwalk, no restrooms. Let's talk about the makerspace, no air conditioning. So the basic things that we should be planning well, we're completely missing. So we do have a problem of overrunning projects and not completing them on time or on budget. We do have a problem.
Do I get any chance to correct the record?
The regular debate you will, but this, we didn't apologize.
There's no chance to rebut.
Candidate Stewart, the 911 system of Johns Creek is outsourced to a company based in Gwinnett County, which has led to operators hanging up or even putting emergency calls on hold, resulting in dangerous delays in response times. Do you believe the 911 system needs to be improved, and how would you propose accomplishing that?
I experienced this myself a couple of weeks ago. I had to call 911 and the lady asked for my name and number and could she call me back if the call dropped. Well, sure enough, the call dropped. And she called me back, but the police arrived, I got rear-ended, and everything is fine. So we do need a more responsive 911 system. I don't know exactly what the answer would be for that. I would not want to limit to one thing that I would tell you tonight, but here's what I am committed to. I am committed to the best, the most efficient way to serve Johns Creek. And so when it is a 911 life safety call, we need to have the absolute best response. We don't ever need to worry about calls dropping. We don't need to keep somebody on the phone longer than they need to be. We need to deal with things proactively and quickly. Yes, we need it. I'm not sure if I would say that we need to internalize that or if we need to look to partner with other cities or companies that are doing it better. But it can be improved and it needs to be improved.
Candidate Bradberry, would you like me to repeat the question?
I've got it. So our 911 service is provided through Chatcom. This is a partnership between the city of Johns Creek and Sandy Springs. And we have subscribers like Brookhaven and Dunwoody. There are metrics in place for our contract with Chatcom for them to reach a certain level of standard service. And they are meeting the terms of that contract. I know that I do hear stories like you're presenting. There are times, like when there was an incident here in this neighborhood, that I try to dive in deep to find out the details, to find out, okay, if there was a lag in the system, where was it, what was the cause? The initial calls for this 911 situation here in Thornhill, the first call hung up. The second call, they were on there, I think, for 10 seconds. It took the third call before the person calling actually transmitted the information about the emergency. Now, that's one part of it. The second part of it is our first responders. Now, in Johns Creek, we have excellent emergency response. Our police in the month of July, they respond in 1 minute and 1 second is their average. Our fire department, their standard is that they would respond in 6 minutes. Their average is that they respond in 5.5 minutes. So I agree that we have to have the best 911 service that we can. I can tell you that is a difficult industry. They are always having a bad day because people are calling with their worst days, right? When you're having an emergency. They have a lot of turnover. I don't think they're probably as well paid as they should be. So it may be that we need to spend some more money to get a higher level of quality there. But I wouldn't say that the system is failing, but it does have room for improvement.
To candidate Bradberry. The charter was originally drafted in 2016 when the city was first incorporated. Since then, several changes have been made, some requiring legislative approval, such as term limits of office, while minor changes such as the role of the assistant to the mayor can be changed by council. Regardless of the process, what would you prioritize to change in the charter within the next 2 years, if any?
I think that it was a good thing that we did the term limits. I ran on that when I ran for council. That was part of my platform. it is something that I believe we could do better in terms of perhaps the ethics requirements. I think that there are some games perhaps that get played in the ethics realm that should not be. I think that the ethics code has been weaponized perhaps. I don't think that that's appropriate. But for the most part, I think our charter is good as long as we follow it. And I have been very religious to follow the charter. And I would like to take some of my remaining time to just say, I don't know that I'm going to be able to address each and every one of the different statements that has been made here tonight, but I would encourage you at the end, we have a handout at our table back here in the back that's just facts about everything from bathrooms at the boardwalk. There are bathrooms at the boardwalk park. There is air conditioning for the makerspace. So I just want to make sure that we're all dealing with the same set of facts. Thank you.
Candidate Stewart, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure, please.
The charter was originally drafted in 2016 when the city was first incorporated. Since then, several changes have been made, some requiring legislative approval, such as term limits of office, while minor changes such as the role of the assistant to the mayor can be changed by council. Regardless of the process, what would you prioritize to change in the charter within the next 2 years, if anything?
So it was actually in 2006, so it'll be 20 years old next year. And so I would want to go through the charter and have a thorough review of it. One of the things that I would want to eliminate is what Mr. Mayor talked about a while ago. I do not want a mayor or a city council to have the authority to add another layer of bureaucracy with the Public Buildings and Facilities Authority. I think that's the most dangerous thing that we could have, because that body, as it is written in the charter right now, would have the ability to issue bonds, to make contracts, to employ staff. They have a lot of broad powers, and we don't need that. I would want us to have a charter that is conservative and that is set up for future mayors and councils down the road, that it would protect Johns Creek. So I agree that we need to have a review and just to make sure that we have the protections in place for everything that's going on. But I'm gonna take my remaining time just to say, campaign miracles sure can happen. And everything that I'm pointing out that's been going on in the city, the mayor is reacting to it. If I post a video about this, oh, we're gonna fix that. If I post a video, there's a problem here, we're gonna fix that. So what y'all are witnessing in real time are what's called campaign miracles.
For our final prepared question, Candidate Stewart, Johns Creek has seen a boom in city development recently, including Boston Scientific Medley, the Boardwalk Park, and Colley Creek. Many residents are concerned about preserving a sense of place and identity so the city remains unique among the sea of the other suburbs. How will you maintain Johns Creek's identity and engagement of citizens while continuing large-scale development?
It's real easy. We have to follow the comprehensive land use plan. Those are the protections that have been put in place. That was a citizen-led effort. We have that, and we have the layer of the Planning Commission. But what we witnessed back on August 25th was the comprehensive land use plan that Fulton County had in place before, that Johns Creek has had in place for almost 20 years. We witnessed the mayor and 2 council members just totally ignore that citizen-led effort and the planning recommendations and change this area in Shake Rag. We do have unique areas in Johns Creek. Shake Rag is one of them. It's our only pastoral area. And so that was changed. It's been protected forever. And so what we need to have in place is a mayor and a council that will follow and uphold the comprehensive land use plan to ensure that we are that way.
Candidate Bradberry, would you like me to repeat the question?
I'm good. So, I've got to address miracles, and I've got to address this issue of zoning, because those are a couple of doozies. First off, we did not violate the comprehensive land use plan. I did not go into the meeting for that particular zoning decision wanting to cast the vote the way I did, but because of some irregularities, I felt like that I had to protect the city, because if we denied that, we most certainly would have been sued, we most certainly would have lost, and a constitutional zoning could have put in double the amount of density than what was in that zoning application. Regarding the comprehensive land use plan for Shakerag character area, it says a density of 1 per acre. It is not measured based on the net, like meaning the buildable acres, it's based on the gross of the parcel. And so it's very clear in the appendix. It talks about how there are approximately 600 acres that are still available in Shakerag, and it talks about how therefore there is the expectation that 600 homes could be coming in our future. Because again, it's based on the gross, not on the net. And let me just say regarding miracles, the bathroom behind the boardwalk must not be a miracle because it was put in place years ago. It was built specifically for the park behind City Hall. It does not open inside to City Hall. It only opens to the outside. I can't produce that. That happened back long ago. And there was definitely air conditioning for the makerspace, and that is something that has been talked about. I mean, I don't understand this idea that anything is happening other than us just trying to make the best decisions for the community possible. So, thank you.
Before we go forward, if anyone does have any last minute cards to submit, we are open to collecting those.
The following questions were submitted by members of the audience. Candidate Bradberry, what is your position on the millage rate? Should it be stable or rolled back, and why?
So, thank you. I am a big believer in the rollback rate. I would not consider that to be small fractions or pennies. My opponent, when she was on the council, the millage rate was 4.614. Today, the millage rate in Johns Creek is 3.492. That is a substantial amount of money, and it is something that just out of principle, I think just makes sense. I submit a budget to the council every year built on the rollback rate. I feel like that is a best practice because it makes it harder for us to increase perhaps unnecessary spending, or at least it requires new spending to be very well justified. Now, I think that the idea that the rate should be stabilized is a bunch of bull unless you are in favor of raising taxes. Because obviously there are two components that go into your tax bill. There's the rate and the assessment of your property. All right, so if the rate stays the same and the assessment keeps going, that to me is a backdoor tax increase, and that's not just my opinion, that's the state of Georgia, because we have the Georgia Property Taxpayer Bill of Rights, and it says anything above the rollback rate is a tax increase. And let me just say this about the stormwater utility fee. First off, the Georgia Supreme Court has said that that is a fee, it is not a tax. I realize that it is coming out of your pocket regardless, but if we go to a property tax for the stormwater, just realize that we are foregoing the tax revenue from GDOT, from the state of Georgia, from Fulton County, from the federal government, right? Because we get stormwater fees from them for the property that they own. So it's not quite as simple as just thinking that, hey, we're gonna put it into the property tax. The other problem with putting it into the property tax is that then that money is not dedicated to that specific thing. So it's just like the parks bond that was talked about. If there is money, it's true. Money from the parks bond is going into the boardwalk. All the money from the parks bond is going into the parks. The law does not say that you can only have a certain amount of money or specific amount of money for an individual project. It simply says that you have to spend it on the parks. that is exactly what has happened. Likewise, with the stormwater utility fee, all that money, because of the fee, it is earmarked and has to go specifically to make stormwater maintenance and repairs.
Candidate Stewart, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good. So I am for stabilizing the millage rate, and here's why. When I was on the council, we were a new city. We are setting up and we are getting formed. So you look at what other cities around us still do today. Look at Alpharetta. Look at Sandy Springs. They keep their millage rate the same. Sandy Springs hasn't changed their millage rate since they were founded, the same year we were. Alpharetta's is flat. So here's why the millage rate gets rolled back, to make you think that you are getting a tax reduction, but it is a fraction of 1%. All the while, what we're doing is artificially inflating the lost tax to 9%. Well, guess what? The largest generators of sales tax, Sandy Springs and Alpharetta, they're keeping theirs flat. So they don't see the need to inflate. So back to the millage rate. If you keep on reducing that millage rate, reducing it, what you're doing, you're not able to fund all of your capital projects. We've got 8 of 40 that are funded. You're passing on expenses like this utility fee. And oh, by the way, Alpharetta folks don't have a utility fee. It is in their property tax. So it is a shell game to tell you we're reducing your taxes, but the debt's increasing, expenses are being added, and you're paying more for fees over here. You're going to pay. Why not just be honest about it and say, this is what it is? Johns Creek has the lowest millage rate of any city in Fulton County. Why keep on doing that? We need to fully fund public safety. We need to fund stormwater. We need to fund transportation. Why are we keeping on cutting our revenues that would help fund these things and pass on these taxes that are really, these fees that are really taxes? So I am for stabilizing the millage rate. Enough is enough of this.
Candidate Stewart, over the course of the past 4 years, Johns Creek has become the #1 city in the United States in which to live. To what specifically do you attribute this great honor?
I have spoken with our first responders about these wonderful accolades that we get. Best city, safest city. When I was doing my due diligence to run for the mayor, one of the things that I said to the people that were asking, and I said, why in the world would I run? Because we do have these wonderful accolades of best city, safest city. These are surveys by real estate companies for the purpose of selling homes and developments. That's what they are. I did not know that till I learned that from our first responders. So it's wonderful to have these accolades like this. If you look at the city of Alpharetta, they will have accolades like most livable city. So these are ways that real estate companies help sell homes and developments. It's really nice. So I attribute it to our schools and I attribute it to the neighborhoods that are being sold.
Thank you. Candidate Bradberry, would you like me to repeat the question?
I'm good. A couple of things. I think it is a mistake to make light of the great honor that has been bestowed on Johns Creek. It is something that is helping us to attract new young families. It's buoying the price of real estate. It's making our town center and office space much more valuable and sought after. I think it's helping our schools, and not to mention just community pride. It is irresponsible for someone to say that we are not fully funding public safety. Let me make this very, very clear, and I hope that you will not only hear this, but that you will share this information. While I've been mayor, we have increased public safety spending by 36%. We have more police today than at any time in our city's history. We have more police per capita today than we've ever had. In 2014, we had 64 sworn officers. Today we have 84. Last year, we set up a crime suppression unit and added 5 new police officers. In this latest budget, we added 4 cadets. We have funded all of the prioritized requests and all of the critical needs. There was an anonymous text that went out, I don't know if some of you got it, that said basically that we were robbing from the public safety to fund the performance center. How incredibly not true. No money has been spent on construction for that facility. The only money that's been spent on that is simply for planning purposes to get information in front of you, the public, for the referendum. It is irresponsible to claim that we are not fully funding our public safety here in the city of Johns Creek. If you hear that again, you should know that you are being misled.
Candidate Bradberry. There has been much confusion about the PAC. Please provide details on the full scope of the projects, expected benefits and costs, as well as financial impact to taxpayers.
Okay. Again, I'm not exactly clear on what we talked about as far as the ground rules earlier, but I'm happy to take the question. The Performing Arts Center, like I said earlier, it's a trade-off. There are benefits, there are costs. And it is really up to you to make that value judgment. I think that it is being tried to be weaponized as a political campaign issue so that maybe it can obfuscate and maybe confuse the voters to think that there are other things happening than what really are. Every time I turn around, there's something else that is being foregone because of the Performing Arts Center. Whether it's Nesbitt Ferry. Nesbitt Ferry is not going to be improved because of the Performing Arts Center. The money's gone, even though the money's really there. I mean, my next thing is I think that grandma and granddad, they're not going to get their Social Security checks because of the Performing Arts Center. It is the damnedest thing I've ever seen. Anyway, I would just really encourage you to get truthful information. I would encourage you to go on the city website. They cannot put their thumb on the scale. It's just vanilla, plain facts about what it's going to cost you as a homeowner. I will say this, the average homeowner is going to pay approximately $83 a year. They have talked about the operating expenses. There have been wild claims about that. Again, this would be on the FAQs on the city website. The delta between revenues and expenses is expected to be about $250,000 in the first year with the expectation that it would break even over 10 years. But again, I'm not here to push or sell any of it. Only just, I wish, naively, in my mind, I thought that we would be able to have a fair and honest conversation as a community about whether or not this Performing Arts Center was something that the community wanted. I never would have dreamed in a million years that it would be hijacked with so much misinformation to where we really are not able to have an honest conversation. Because frankly, I don't blame people. If you're getting information from next door, you're gonna think that this is the craziest project that's ever been
Candidate
thought of.
Bradberry,
All right.
please make your final remarks.
Find out with truthful information.
Thank you. Before we begin to candidate Stewart's response.
We just want to clarify that this question specifically specified facts about the PAC. We will not be asking any questions about PAC opinions.
Excuse me, can I ask a question? I think Mr. Bradberry is confused about what he can say and what he can't say. Can he talk about the scope of the project? Can he talk about what it's gonna cost the taxpayer?
Steve, to be fair, I'm not confused about what I can say or not say. I was just confused because earlier on, I thought y'all were saying that we weren't gonna have.
But this one was asking for facts. This question. It was from the audience, and the kids chose
Okay,
it.
I mean, I'm happy to have these conversations, but I do have to be very, very
It was a
careful because state
fact-based-
law says I'm supposed to be,
It was just asking about the facts. I wrote the question.
okay. I'm happy to provide more, but I think the
And
city website.
potentially, you
would be
guys
better.
can have that, conversation, after the event.
I get it.
Candidate Stewart, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm good. So let's talk about numbers, because they're all throughout your budget. Here's the thing, the land has already been purchased by $0.6 million. Look at the capital improvement plans for the next 5 years. There's $5 million for construction documents for the Performing Arts Center in 2026 is the #1 capital improvement plan. 2027, $55 million. If you look at the infrastructure maintenance accrual fund, that is the only fund that has seen a 144% increase because that's where the $20 million cash is sitting. So this budget reflects the mayor's priorities. And you can't change your words now in a campaign season. You have said all throughout the work session, it's my #1 priority. Everything else can be crowded out, and we'll get to those things if we get to them. So I'm gonna go back and talk about public safety for just a second. When a council member has to complete an open records request to get all of the public safety requests that have been asked for, yes, information is being hidden and intentionally left out of the budget. The police chief, back in March, had a 9-page letter and his multi-year plan of all the things that were needed for the police. Then the fire chief in February had 27 pages worth of documents for all his needs. That's $5.2 million of unfunded public safety requests, and you want to say that there is no correlation? Oh, there most definitely is. $5 million of construction documents, $5.2 million of public safety that was intentionally left out. Y'all are smart. You do not need, you can add those together. And so I'm telling you, everything is going to suffer because of this Performing Arts Center. Public safety is falling behind. Transportation is falling behind. I told you where stormwater was. This is a priority for 1%, that will benefit 1% of our population.
Please make your final remarks.
But public safety, transportation, stormwater, all the infrastructure is for all of us. Yes, this thing is disastrous for Johns Creek.
Candidate Stewart, what do you expect the total cost of the boardwalk park behind City Hall to be? How do you propose to use this facility?
I was just sharing with a gentleman earlier, I was like, well, I think it's topped out at $40 million. And he said, no, it's up to $43 million now. There is no way of knowing what it's going to be because you keep on buying things and you keep on spending things. If y'all look in the capital improvements for this year, number 36 on the list is a fountain to go in the lake that's $500,000. This thing could cost us a kidney by the time we're done with it. I mean, who knows how much this thing is gonna cost? It's just open-ended. We just keep on spending. Is it going to be beautiful? It would have to be as much money as we're putting into it. But it's not a priority. What is a priority is our public safety. What is a priority is a 5th fire station, not a performing arts center. We have completely lost the priority of the taxpayer first. And so I don't know how it'll be used. I would hope as much money is being put into it, we would certainly have a ton of options from which to choose. But this is not. I mean, the spending needs to stop. We need to stop. And that tunnel to nowhere, I know that has aggravated you, but it really is. And let me tell you, if it's nowhere, all that he's doing then is connecting 2 sidewalks. We're digging at our busiest road in Johns Creek to then, at best, connect 2 sidewalks. Who knows what this thing is gonna cost us or when it'll be finished. There's no plan.
good, and I think I've spoken about the boardwalk a fair amount, so I don't know that I'll tread that ground again. I will just say that, does it bother me when things are said that are inaccurate? It does. It bothers me a great deal. I expect to tell the truth. I expect other people to tell the truth. The tunnel, it was called the Tunnel to Nowhere. And very deceptively, it says there's nothing over here but trees. But you know what? I had a meet and greet at Hearthside last week at the retirement community. Lovely people. They're right next to where the tunnel will open up, and they can't wait for that tunnel because they will be able to have a safe way to avoid the road to get into the boardwalk and get into the town center. And then you've got Ashton Woods, you've got Johns Creek Walk, you've got all those homes that are off of Finley, Abbott's, all that whole area. I mean, most of our population, most of our homes are on that other side of 141. So it's not a tunnel to nowhere. It's, I think, something that's going to serve a very valuable purpose, and I think we're going to really be appreciative that we've got it. Now, I wanted to address this thing about the public safety and the 5.2 million and the 5 million. So imagine that you are a city councilman and that you have been working on the budget for 3 months. And you get all the way, you get all the different issues, you've worked with your other council members, you finally got a product, you've got an end product that you think is ready for passage. And you go to the dais the night that it's supposed to be passed. There's a motion on the table to pass the budget as presented. And then someone makes a motion that says, well, I'd like to add 15 things to the budget that are not in the budget. And those 15 things are for public safety. Now, I gotta tell you, I know that I'm in politics, but at the same time, I take a lot of pride in what I do. I have a certain integrity that I expect of myself. Just like that vote on the shake rag, I expect to be an adult in the room at all times when I'm serving as your mayor. There was no way that the four of us that voted against that, I'm sorry, I'm gonna need more time.
Unfortunately, that is not.
Well, this is an important point. This is an important point.
I understand, but
Okay,
we have
all right.
clear rules outlined. Candidate Bradberry.
Yeah.
Public safety is important for Johns Creek. How will you balance public safety needs with the desire to be fiscally responsible?
So again, this has not been a problem. This is something that we have been able to have a fiscally responsible budget and taxes at the same time that we have fully funded our public safety departments. Like I said earlier, public safety spending while I've been mayor has gone up 36%. We have more officers today than we've ever had in our history. We just added 5 last year, we just added 4 cadets this year. All of the critical safety, public safety needs and priority requests were fulfilled in the budget that we just passed. I mean, there was a very dramatic video that was about some chairs, a recliner in the fire station. And it was like, oh, well, these are disrespectful to our first responders. This isn't funded. Actually, it was funded in the budget that we just passed. And we have passed money for a new fire truck, for 14 new police cars, 2 motorcycles, and all kinds of other things that you would associate with police and fire, whether it's bulletproof vest or fire retardation equipment. And so going back to the 15 items I was talking about that were sprung on us at the last minute, they weren't vetted. This incredibly important, which I agree that the letter from the police chief was an important piece of information, but it had never been shared with the rest of council. It was sprung on us for political theater. So if you're hearing in an anonymous text that we are not funding public safety, is it that we're not funding public safety, or is this a matter of public posturing so that there's a campaign issue to make you feel like maybe you should be afraid?
I'm gonna take great issue with that because I come from a family of first responders.
Candidate Stewart. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I've got it. I've really got it. My grandfather was a chief of police who was killed in the line of duty. I have an uncle who was a deputy sheriff killed in the line of duty. Another uncle, a fire chief. Another uncle, a police officer. Cousins who are chiefs of police today. So I take great exception with how cavalier you are towards public safety, saying that you have fully funded it, because you have not. When I'm gonna listen to the police chief, don't listen to me, don't listen to him, let's listen to what our police chief says, okay? Crime is increasing. Turnover is increasing. Salaries are not competitive. One of our specialized units, they have seen a reduction in hours and in pay. None of that was put in the budget. Not one penny of it. And you want to talk about political posturing? How about your comment? I am glad, thank God we have fewer police. Guess what? He has made all kinds of fun of me for looking at our police ratios. Guess what? The police chief does the same way. Our neighboring cities have a police officer for every 500 to 800 people. Johns Creek has a police officer for every 1,012 people. We're falling behind. This has nothing to do with politics. This has everything to do with our public safety. We have our neighboring cities have a fire station for every 8,000 to 14,000 people. We have a fire station for every 21,250 people. Guess what? The police chief and the fire chief look at the same things the way that I do. Our police chief has said our staffing levels are falling 28% below our cities around us. We're 51% below the South Atlantic region, and we're 60% below the national average. That's the police chief. That was excluded from the budget. It is your budget. It's not the city manager's budget. It's your responsibility to know that and to bring that forward to the council. But the council ended up being treated like the public and have to complete an open records request to get the information so we would know what the police chief and the fire chief really want. That's what's going on. No transparency.
Before we continue, I just have to say this is going to be our last question, after which our candidate will have a small chance to make his closing statement.
Candidate Stewart, what can be done to eliminate drugs in our schools?
That is a very important question. I will just tell you, there is a problem. When I was putting out campaign signs, a cousin of mine, who is a chief of police that was helping me, we saw issues going on, and we were putting gas in his truck one evening, and he was like, "Did you see what just went out down over there?" And it was a drug deal. I think that we have got to be judicious throughout Johns Creek. Because we are an affluent city, it attracts bad actors. And so there are problems in schools. There are problems outside of the schools. And I can tell you what I would do as mayor of Johns Creek. I've said this from the beginning, and I'll say it again. I would form a task force that focused on human trafficking and drug trafficking. And I would partner with the schools to see how we could resolve what's going on in there. We need to run those two things out of Johns Creek as fast as we can. But these things are happening. Roswell, the city of Roswell, is dealing with this in a really big way. And so it is a problem that we've got to address. And I think that we have no choice but to put a laser beam focus on it in order to make any kind of impact at all. And so I am committed to partnering with the schools to do just that.
Candidate Bradberry, would you like me to repeat the question?
I'm okay, thank you. It's an important question. I want to talk about the national average, but I also want to address what was just said. This is a story that has been told many times about how a drug deal was witnessed in the middle of the night. When the story was first told, it was at a campaign kickoff, and it was said that also there was human trafficking witnessed, or maybe prostitution potentially witnessed. If you wonder why I'm skeptical, just know that there was never a 911 call placed There was never a police report made about those incidents. So I do worry about how public safety is potentially being manipulated for politics. Now, let me just say that obviously we all know that the kids have access to drugs. I'm not going to sit here and say that I have an easy solution, because I don't. Our Johns Creek Police do try to partner as best they can with our schools. I know that I talked to one of our principals just this past week, and he told me that he had requested for our dogs to come in and do a sweep. I'm very supportive of that happening. We try to be as integrated into our schools as we can, but we are limited by the fact that we are not of the same. We are two separate entities, the city and the schools. We do have a group called One Johns Creek that has tried very hard from just a education, from a outreach standpoint. They have a coalition of different people that go into the schools, try to partner with the schools, try to reach the kids. It's hard to judge exactly how effective that is, but I know that it's better than not having it. I think that the most important thing that we can do probably is to just try as best we can, all of us, to promote a culture of not abusing drugs. We've tried to do that as much as we can through things like the drug take-back days. You can go into City Hall, you can get rid of your prescription drugs. We do a lot of social media things about that, just to say, hey, look, these things are dangerous. Don't let them be in reach of your kids. But just going back to the national average about...
Bradberry, please make your final.
Yeah. I'll just say that Johns Creek is not average. Am I glad that we don't have to have more police? Yes, of course, I'm glad that we don't have to have more police, because you know what? Because our crime rate is lower.
Thank you.
So now begin our closing statements, starting with candidate Bradberry. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah. Look, like I said earlier, the city is not perfect. I do think it's good. I know that I'm trying very hard. We have hardworking members of council that are trying to make Johns Creek the best that it can be. 4 years ago at the State of the City, it may sound a little corny, but I quoted Reagan. And I thought about when he used to quote how he dreamed of America as being a city on a hill. I'm the same way thinking about Johns Creek, that I want us to be the best that we can be. I want us to have the best quality of life. I want you to know that I'm doing everything that I know to do to provide value, to make this a better place for us all to live. I just want you to know how much it's been my honor and great privilege to have served as your mayor the last 4 years. If I'm given another 4 years, I can assure you that everything I told you I'm going to do just like I did 4 years ago. Thank you.
I want to thank the Thornhill HOA for hosting this event tonight, and Student Leadership North. Thank y'all for working with this as well. You have 2 very different choices on November. One is Forward Together, and I guess if I had to call mine anything, it would be Back on Track. So I want to tell you what Forward Together is from my perspective. Forward Together means higher crime, according to our police chief. It means higher density. It means higher city staff turnover. It means higher fees that are really taxes. It means more debt, more congestion on our roads. It means fewer first responders. It means no transparency. It means a divided city and a divided city council. It means wasteful spending. It means broken down emergency vehicles. It means choosing a performing arts center for 1% of our population over a 5th fire station for all of us. It means listening to outside interest and special interest. That's what Forward Together means. I want to tell you what Back on Track means. It means the taxpayer first. It means public safety first. It means prioritizing our needs over our wants. It means protecting our quality of life. It means unifying a city council, and city staff. And it means community engagement. engagement. As a representative form of government, you don't know how to represent unless you're talking to people. So that's what back on track means. And I ask for your vote for Mayor of Johns Creek November 4th to put Johns Creek back on track.
So that's all of our questions for today. If your question wasn't read and you submitted it, we did have to cut a few questions for the sake of time and based on the bias of the questions, but our candidates are free to answer any questions out in the hall after we end off. Thank you.
Thank you.